Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Think Before You Hate podcast, where we'll discuss the latest topics on civil rights that concern the people of Chicago. I'm Alex with the Chicago Commission on Human Relations, and we are the city's civil rights agency. What we do is we fight and eliminate prejudice and discrimination in the city of Chicago by enforcing the Chicago Human Rights Ordinance as well as the Chicago Fair Housing Ordinance. And today we have the great pleasure of speaking with Dr. Terrell Odom, who is the director of the Office for Military Affiliated Communities at the University of Chicago. And we are going to discuss the veteran experience here in Chicago. Dr. Terrell Odom, thank you very much for joining us in the podcast today. So to kick us off, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself? Where'd you grow up and how did you start your career?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Alex. I'm definitely a pleasure to be here with you guys. I'm also the chair of the Advisory Council on Veterans Affairs for the City of Chicago, and also work with the Commission on Human Rights here in the city, so I serve as a commissioner. But there's only one real side of the city, right? Grew up on the south side of Chicago. My mother's family was from the east side of Chicago, and my father's family was from the west side. So I've gotten a flavor of the entire city of Chicago my entire life. Went to Calumet High School, now dubbed, I believe, Perspectives is the new name of the high school. It was on 81st and May on the south side of Chicago. At age 17, ended up dropping out of high school, actually. Dropping out of high school to work to be able to help support my mom and my dad, who were both pretty ill. I was fortunate enough to learn about the United States military, joined the United States Navy. It's always an interesting story about my time in service because I wanted to do IT when I joined the Navy, but there were no IT-related jobs that they were seeking at that particular time.
Interesting.
So I ended up picking the next best thing, which was medical. So joined the United States Navy as a hospital corpsman, which then I spent my time serving alongside the United States Marine Corps, making sure that the health and safety of every sailor and or Marine that I came in contact with and their families were taken care of.
Right. Well, we thank you for this. And yeah, when I was doing research on you, you have a very extensive background. You're very well-rounded in academia as well, and it's very impressive. Now, the city of Chicago has a diverse community of veterans. How have you seen the veteran community grow here in Chicago or evolve in recent years?
Well, in recent years, I'll put a huge emphasis on our women veterans that have transitioned out of service. Women veterans are the fastest growing cohort of veterans coming out of the United States Armed Forces. Back at a time before some people believed it popular to support our women veterans, we, myself and several others in the city who have been doing this work for many years, have sought out intentionally to try to make better support for our women veterans. I actually serve on an executive advisory committee for the National Women Veterans United Group, which has been around for quite some time supporting our women vets. But we also have more Hispanic vets that are coming out of service, people of color, LGBTQ, et cetera, et cetera. The population is pretty diverse, and even more so now where more folks are open to talking about their military service. When I got out of service, not as many people were as open. There were not a lot of support services for the military and veteran communities, specifically in higher education. And of course, during the earlier part of 2000, when the VA pretty much had a nice overload of folks that were able to go in to get services because some of the conditions were put into the DSM-5 at that time. So the population has been growing substantially. More folks are open to talking about their veteran status. And of course, again, over the past 2-decade-long conflict that we've been in, you've had a lot of reservists and Guard members who are activated, sent overseas, and of course, they themselves now carry that veteran status.
Right. Now, you've led countless programs and initiatives to support veterans and their families, many of which bring people together and raise awareness in meaningful ways. Can you share how some of these experiences have helped strengthen community connections?
So there's so many that I could talk about.
No pressure.
We were discussing when I came in today. I actually just came from the Cook County Jail. So I'll talk about our Veterans Restorative Justice Project that we launched at the University of Chicago. It's a program designed to support veterans who unfortunately find themselves in the criminal justice system, mostly out of crimes of desperation. So substance abuse, a lot of veterans who discharge the service with visible and hidden wounds. And they don't have that support network when they transition out of service. Inside of the jail specifically, which is where I was today, we have our own veterans tier where veterans who are charged with crimes and in custody at Cook County can be placed. So while they're on this veterans tier, there are support services that come in. So we have mental health counselors that come in, the VA comes in, the University of Chicago comes in. Thursday is the day that's designated for our creative writing program, which we started inside the jail system. That program, to me, because we're addressing the most vulnerable population of the veterans,
Sure.
Again, homelessness, food insecurities, you name it, it runs the gambit of different challenges that these folks have, where we're helping to reintegrate them back into society, as well as put them in a better economic status than when they first went into custody. So working with partners like the City College of Chicago, working with several other community colleges in the county, making sure that those folks can do trade programs, making sure those folks can do associate's degrees if they choose. Yes. We've assisted with folks going directly into bachelor's degrees and even graduate degrees. So that one for me, I would say, has been the most meaningful because it opens the eyes of the entire community to all aspects of a veteran's life, whether again, they have mental health challenges, homelessness challenges, and it brings all those support services together for one collective reason to support these folks and their families.
Yeah, this definitely sounds very profound and meaningful and impactful. Now, if someone new to Chicago is transitioning out of the military, what encouraging words or advice would you offer them?
So transitioning out of service, as you know, can be a challenge. Sure. Because you leave that safety net of the 1st and 15th where your paycheck would be there. You also leave the camaraderie of the troops, so sailors, soldiers, and Marines that are in your unit. I would tell folks, get involved when you get here in the city of Chicago. Even though some folks may believe places like California, Texas, because they have a bigger military population, would be the most military friendly, I'd push back and say Chicago is the most friendliest place for veterans.
That's great to hear.
Yes, most friendliest place for veterans in Illinois as a whole. From the top down, where we have our fantastic Director of State Department of Veterans Affairs, Terry Prince. We have the County Director, Eric Armstrong. And of course, here in the Mayor's Office, we have Kevin Barzis, who is the Director of the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs. And over at the Cook County Veterans Assistance Commission, is going to be Superintendent Elizabeth Soto. So we have a very wide range of services that are government-based, that support the military and veteran community. But there are several other organizations that support the veterans, their families. If I have to throw one out in particular, Blue Star Families, I'm going to throw them out there because they support military and veteran families. They are the nation's largest organization that supports military and veteran families. But there are tons of ways to get involved. There's community projects to get involved with. There's programs inside of higher education that folks can get involved with. Student Veterans of America is a huge organization. Again, the largest organization that supports student veterans. They're an international organization. You, of course, have the American Legion being the oldest of the veteran service organizations, the DAV, VFW. I can go on and how many different organizations there are. But come get involved. Don't stand silent. If you need help, don't be ashamed to ask for help. Everybody needs a little help from time to time. Veterans in this space, we don't consider it as a handout, but a hand up to helping each other as we transition out of service. It's challenging enough, so speak with someone who's been through this process, become more aware about your benefits, visit the VA, go down and visit the VA. I also encourage folks to go to some of the veterans' homes that are in the city of Chicago, meet with some of those older veterans, learn their stories, learn better ways that we can support the entire community.
I like that. A hand up, not a handout. Love it. Now, what skills or lessons from the military service have been most valuable in your civilian and professional life?
I'll give you one, listening. As a medic, I had to be marriage counselor, guidance counselor, financial counselor, but I had to listen to what was being explained to me, whether it had been through the symptoms that a person was having medically or the challenges that they were having in their lives. And I would also say be intentional. Be intentional in your approach to addressing those issues or concerns that the veteran or their family members may have, and think of everything holistically.
Sure.
It's not just one issue. So if you're looking at a person who has housing insecurities, there's a chance that there may also be some food insecurities there, right? But me personally, I want to make sure that we're addressing them holistically from the mental health aspect of it. As we know, my father used to say pressure burst pipes. So if you're under constant duress because you don't know where you're going to live or where you're going to get your next meal from, you can only imagine that there's a mental health challenge to that as well.
Sure.
So looking at everything holistically when you're supporting this community. So listening, being extremely intentional, and just being supportive and present for the community, I think would be the biggest skills that I learned while in the military as well as inside of my professional life.
Yeah, it makes sense. Listening to understand, not to simply respond, is definitely a very powerful skill.
Correct.
Now, as you know, the CCHR, we work to stop discrimination against all Chicagoans. In your experience, how has discrimination impacted veterans in Chicago?
So in various ways, you have several veterans, again, who back to housing insecurities. Veterans who may have vouchers that come from the federal government called the HUD VASH, the Housing for Urban Development VASH. And then you have, of course, CHA vouchers. I remember a time when the city of Chicago, and they constantly still do, support our veteran community as they transition into housing. Some of these vets come from veterans home, what we're called single occupancy berthing, where it's more of a transitional house for them and other vets who may be leaving the criminal justice system, who may have had some challenges in life, mental health challenges, etc. And trying to find a place of their own, you may have renters or leasing companies who choose not to rent to this population based on the type of income that they may have coming in. Some veterans do have disability compensation that they receive from the VA. Depending on what percentage of service-connected disability they have would determine how much money they actually have coming in on a monthly basis. That has been a big challenge in this community. As well as you never know, I mean, hate is hate, right? Hate is hate. You never know who is actually a veteran. As I spoke about earlier, a lot of folks were not as open to talking about their veteran status. You be on the corner, you'll see a person standing outside holding a sign saying homeless veteran, or a person, who may have been brutally attacked by someone in the community. You never know if that person's status is veteran. That's just one part of our identity. You have veterans, again, who are women, who identify with the LGBTQ community. You have veterans of Muslim faith, of Jewish Israel faith. You have veterans in every single walk of life.
Very diverse.
Very diverse. We are the most diverse population, in my opinion, on the planet, because we fit into every single nick and cranny that the community has.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what steps can employers take to create a more welcoming, equitable, and veteran-friendly hiring process for their business?
Well, they could take an approach that the city has taken. I'm going to give credit, of course, to our mayor and Kevin Barzis from the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs and the chairman of the Veteran Caucus, Alderman Villegas, United States Marine Corps veteran, where the city has passed a couple of ordinances specific to hiring of veterans, including within the city offices and agencies. It also extends some of those same supports to the family members of veterans. I keep harping on the family because when you're in service, your husband, your wife, your children are following you throughout the world while you serve our nation. So their lives are always uprooted, whether you're transitioning from one or changing duty stations every 2-3 years. If the service member is deployed and the other parent is at home, have to stay with the children for a year at a time or 2 years at a time, or children switching high schools or switching schools in general, again, every so many number of years. But the employers should become more aware of the veteran identity. Several organizations have created employee readiness groups, veterans employee readiness groups, where there's groups of veterans throughout an organization all the way up to the C-suite, and they all get involved in making sure that onboarding for that particular veteran or reservist or guard member or family member of either is supported while they're there within that organization. making sure that organizations reach out to non-for-profits, government agencies that support veterans, bringing them in, getting veterans directly to those services is a big part of it. And understanding that the skill sets that veterans typically come to the workforce with are much greater than some of the employees that they may have had for several years. I like to say that veterans, we don't typically complain about things. Give us enough and we'll make it more, because we're used to doing more with less.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Now, I'm going to ask you, as we're wrapping up our conversation, this one last question that I ask all of our guests. In your opinion, what can our listeners do in their everyday lives to combat hate and discrimination against veterans? Well, I don't ask every guest about veterans, but yeah. In your case, how can our listeners combat hate against discrimination against veterans?
Well, that's a good question, and I would again go back to saying hate is hate. And I would say not just within the veteran community, but in every community. Take the opportunity to understand a person's viewpoint, even if it's opposing to yours. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. That's what America's about. That's why the veterans were out in fault, for you to be able to have this freedom. Try to understand it from a different perspective, and understand that you're not always going to agree on every single conversation or every single item that you guys are going to discuss, but try to find that common ground. I like to think of it as a tree. We're looking at it. There's a tree in the middle between you and I here. Okay. You're looking at a tree from your angle. Sure. And let's say you see leaves on your side. You see green leaves on your side. But on my view, I see no leaves. So we can argue all day long that there are leaves on a tree or there are no leaves on a tree. But the one thing we can agree on is what?
That there's a tree in the center.
There's a tree in the center, right? Try to find that common ground. Everybody's experiences are going to be different. Some people's are going to have been more challenging than others, but we can all learn something from each other. Again, hate is hate. Veterans come with some of the best experiences, real world experiences, being in third world countries that you could learn from, and try to get to know them. Not every person that's homeless or every person who is proposed anger, right, are going to do harm to you. Those people also have stories. So again, be more so just get to know each other.
Sure. I love that answer. It's perfect. Now, is there any way that if any one of our listeners wants to reach out to the Office for Military Affiliated Communities at the University of Chicago, they can reach out to you?
Absolutely. So if you want to reach out to my office, the Office for Military Affiliated Communities, OMAC for short, sometimes get it messed up with all the acronyms, but you can reach us. It's very simple. Veterans.uchicago, that's just the letter U, so veterans.uchicago.edu, or you can send us an email at veterans@uchicago.edu.
Are there any social media outlets that your organization is currently on? Facebook, Instagram? Yes,
absolutely. So forgive me, you can follow us on Instagram as well as LinkedIn. Just search for OMAC, hashtag OMAC, OMAC, and you'll find us on both of those platforms.
Perfect. Well, Dr. Terrell Odom, thank you very much for joining us for the Think Before You Hate podcast and discussing the U.S. veteran experience in Chicago with us. And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us today. Remember, if you or anybody you know feels that they've been a victim of discrimination, please do not hesitate to contact the Chicago Commission on Human Relations at 312-744-4111. Again, that is 312-744-4111. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, Blue Sky, also X as well. And remember, until next time, think before you hate.
Thank you.